Alright, so we're going to be looking at evaluating these trig functions given the unit circle. And so what we've been given says sine 2/3 pi, basically. So when we come to our unit circle, remember that we're going to always have our initial line starting here. And then if this is a positive value, that means we're rotating counterclockwise that value amount. And if it's a negative up over here, that means we're actually going to be going down and around this quantity and amount. So let's look at sine 2/3 pi. So we're going to be starting here and moving around. So there's 1/3 and around until we get to our 2/3 pi of our radian. Now we're looking at sine. That's the second bit of information. So on these, on my x and y, remember my x value is my cosine and my y value is my sine. So basically this is asking, what is the sine value when your radian is 2/3 pi? Well, when radian is 2/3 pi, my sine value is going to be radical 3/2. I am done. And that's my answer. Okay. So once you find where it lands, then you go over here and go, okay, does it want sine or cosine, x or y? And that's going to be your answer. What is the sine or the cosine at that radian or at that degree? All right, so let's try another one. So now I have negative 5/6 pi. So that means I'm going to be going this way, clockwise, and I'm going to do so by 5/6. So I'm going to be moving. Here's 1/6. 2/6 is the same thing as 1/3. 3/6, which 3/6 emphasized down to 1/2. Okay, and so basically we're looking at our 3/6s and our halves. 4/6. So this quantity here is a negative 5/6 pi of a radian. It's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the circle. If I was coming this way, it'd be 7/6, but I'm not. I'm moving negative, so I still have to move the same quantity, but in a negative direction. Okay? Otherwise, it'd look like that. So now I'm looking at sine. So again, x, y. Sine is my y. So literally my answer is negative 1/2. That's my y at negative 5/6 pi. Alright. So you're welcome to pause the video whenever or replay for examples. So what about if I had a negative 3/2 pi, my cosine? So I want to know what is the cosine, or basically the x value at negative 3/2 of a rotation around here. So negative means I'm going this way. So I'm going to go, there's 1/2 pi. There's 2/2 pi, or basically 1. Here's my single 1 pi here. So 3/2, negative 3/2 pi is basically 3/4 around. And I want my cosine at that. So my cosine is 0. So my x value at negative 3/2, remember that's 2 pi is a full rotation. So if I go 1.5 out of 2, my x value is there. Pause and rewrite as needed. So what if they give us a degree? So I have a negative 35 degrees. And so again, that means I'm moving this way. So there's a couple ways I could do it. But what I'm going to do is actually find what that value is, positive value. So if I have 360 degrees regularly in a circle, and I need to come back 135 degrees, I'm going negative 135. I want to know what's called coterminal, what's going to meet it. So I'm actually going to subtract these. And I get 225, and that should add up to 360, and it does. So a 225, a positive 225, gets you to the same line as a negative 135. It's the same line. And I want a cosine at that point, so I'm going to look here at my x value. So my answer is negative square root 2 over 2. Okay. And if we have a value that's greater than 360, then you subtract the 360 to see what's left out and left on it. Okay. So let's see an example that might have something in play on that one. So let's say I had a sine 400. Okay, oops, I want sine 500. Let's do 500. Okay, so if I had 500, that means I've gone around at least 360 degrees. So I do 500 minus, let's see, if I take away that one full circle out of it, 360 degrees, I would get 140. Actually, let's make that 6. Make our numbers nice and easy to work with. Why not? There we go. 240. Let's do 240. This is just an example of the concept. So if I had sine 600, subtracted from it, all that good stuff, then I'd get 240. Well, 240 says there. So basically what happened is we had gone around one full time and then an additional 240 more degrees to get a 600 degrees. So once I subtract out my 360, I'm left with just 240. Sine at that point is my y, so that is negative radical 3 over 2. Okay, please feel free to rewatch that. Obviously keep in mind that I corrected for the 6 just to give us a nice pretty number to work off of. So basically if it's anything above 300, you will pull out and find the difference between that value and 300 to see, yeah, I went around one full time for 360 degrees, but then went an additional quantity, in this case 240 more degrees, and that's where I ended up landing. Otherwise 360 just gets me back to 0. Okay. So if I have a cosine 330, so again, since it's a positive number, that means I'm going to move this way, and I'm going to go all the way around to 330. That's my line. I want a cosine, that's my x, so that puts me at radical 3 over 2. That's my answer. What is the cosine at 330 degrees? It's radical 3 over 2. So last but not least, cosine at pi over 2. So take a moment, find pi over 2. What is my x value at that quantity? Okay, so pi over 2 is there. My cosine is 0. And that's my answer. Alright, so that's how you can evaluate these and be able to solve any worksheet that you got. Alright, I hope this helped.